Hi everyone and welcome to my channel for a new video. Giant scorpions ruled the land for over 300 million years. But just what was life like when these massive arthropods were the top predators? What would a scorpion attack look like? And why are there no giant scorpions today? First things first, how big are we talking? These ancient creatures were huge, ranging from 3 to 10 feet in length, with their giant claws alone spanning up to 8 inches. That's almost a foot. If that doesn't seem like a lot, imagine if a tarantula the size of a dog was scuttling around on 2 legs instead of 8. These massive arachnids could easily prey on early tetrapods, some of the first 4-footed vertebrates. And because they were so large, they didn't have to worry about being eaten by pretty much anything. Even an early relative of ours might have been a tasty snack for these giant beasts. But despite their imposing stature, giant scorpions weren't technically insects. They belonged to a group called Chelicerata, which today includes spiders, mites, and ticks, but also horseshoe crabs, which are more closely related to spiders than the crabs. Although they're not insects, giant scorpions were still arthropods, meaning they had a hard outer shell and were segmented. And like insects, they molted or shed their shells periodically, which left them vulnerable to attack while their new shell hardened. So even though giant scorpions were at the top of the food chain, they still had to watch out for other giant scorpions looking for a tasty meal. These battles likely played out similarly to fights between modern-day scorpions, with 2 opponents facing off, waving their pincers and stingers in the air. But the size difference between the combatants back then was much greater. It would be like watching 2 humans fighting, each armed with a sword as long as their forearm and a dagger as long as their hand. Although we imagine giant scorpions as being solitary hunters, fossils tell us that they sometimes lived in groups. Some fossil deposits contain hundreds of partially mummified specimens from a single location, suggesting that giant scorpions congregated near water sources. Modern scorpions tend to be nocturnal, but it seems that giant scorpions preferred the daytime. This is because most of the fossils have been found in sedimentary rocks, which form from sand and mud that settle out of water. Since they were active during the day, giant scorpions probably gathered near water to hunt, and then retreated to dry land to lay their eggs and wait for their young to hatch. The eggs were likely laid in burrows, which may have been built individually or communally, similar to the way modern-day meerkats live in groups and share parenting duties. The young would have been born with fully developed limbs, eyes, and exoskeleton, ready to fend for themselves in a world full of giant monsters. And yes, the world was full of giant monsters. Giant millipedes, which could grow up to 8 feet long, lurked in the undergrowth, while enormous dragonflies with 2-foot wingspans buzzed around, snatching up any small animals that got too close. But after 300 million years of dominating the land, giant scorpions mysteriously disappeared. One reason for their sudden disappearance is climate change. During the late Carboniferous period, Earth's temperature began to drop, leading to the formation of huge ice sheets. Since giant scorpions live near water, they were probably wiped out along with many other species when the climate changed from warm and wet to cold and dry. Another theory is that giant scorpions simply evolved into smaller, less conspicuous creatures, like modern tarantulas. This is supported by the fact that we haven't found any fossils of giant scorpions in the most recent layers of rock. So next time you reach for that scorpion-shaped bottle of hand sanitizer, remember that these little guys are the descendants of gigantic monsters that once ruled the earth. Alright, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe my channel for more interesting content. See you next time.